magnificent. We're going to be done with all of the installations a little bit earlier. It doesn't say that they need to be the cheerleader. It doesn't really say directly that they're in charge and directs everything, including the honor guard. For example, are all of the officers doing their job? That's the faithful navigator, is rowing the boat, right? Keeping it on straight and narrow. Is the faithful navigator giving thanks to all those that have been working hard? Is the faithful navigator seeing that the newsletter is getting out and giving information to the assemblies in a timely manner? Are all of the announcements timely? Is there time to promote, get reservations, and accomplish a very successful event? Is the faithful navigator always looking ahead? What's happening down the road? Always looking maybe 4 or 5 months ahead. Or maybe better yet, is the calendar set at the beginning of the year so that all those things are in place? All we need to do is start to deal with them at the appropriate time. Has somebody been assigned to be the responsible one for everything that happens? No reason why that couldn't be done well in advance as well. If you, the faithful navigator, is not organized, how can you expect anyone else to be? Who does the paperwork? Is the comptroller going to do it? Is the faithful navigator going to do it? Are you assigning it to certain people? Are the RSVP forms going in by the RSVP coordinator within your assembly? And then another question that I have for the faithful navigator: is patriotism visible in your assembly? Have you got some finite projects that are clearly defined to be in the realm of patriotism? There's more.
We had about 68 observers there other than candidates, which was good to see. Honor Guard, there was about 40 Honor Guard members there, 7 state officers there. It's always great to see support from the rest of the members coming to our exemplification and to encourage our new members. We have a couple of changes in our degree team. I think we're sitting very strong with the number of members. Last year and the year before, we were asking if we had any members that were interested in being on the team. Some of the guys stepped up and have volunteered. So we're close to having a backup now for each one of our positions, which is nice to have, because you never know, excuse me, when someone may be ill and cannot make it for that day. So it was very, very nice to have.
Which is Blocky, and then we've got one in Madison, we've got one in Toma, and in Green Bay. Now, you heard many years ago, the Ronald McDonald House. This is for parents of children in the hospital who can stay at a Ronald McDonald House at a reasonable cost. So the VA has taken this on the federal government has taken this on themselves, and they call it a Fisher House, F-I-S-C-H-E-R, Fisher. And they're building them in several different parts of the country. And this is under federal law. It's also a 501c3. So shortly they're going to be asking, the Senate will be going out and asking for donations from various councils and assemblies. And of course, because it is a 501c3, your donations are able to be taken off your income taxes. They use an illustration today in Milwaukee. They have the what was known as L's Run, from Al McGuire, the former coach at Marquette University. Well, they've got 16,000 people lined up for the run today. And they've got some people involved in this thing who are also sponsoring this Fisher House, and they intend to hitchhike on this L's Run thing for future reference to build these homes, and they're quite elaborate. You have rooms for a family with a little kitchenette and stuff of this nature, or single rooms just for sleeping for people who are visiting patients in the hospital. Also, we have a chapel on the grounds at what used to be called Wood, Wisconsin. And that the hospital there dates back to the Civil War, is where it started. And of course, that is right next to those people who are somewhat familiar with Milwaukee, is right next to Miller Park and the ballpark. But that time it was out in the boonies. And so when they started this thing, and the women, the wives and mothers and relation of Civil War people are the ones who actually started this, what was Wood, Wisconsin is now Zablocki. And they built a chapel. Well, when you're fooling with the federal government, you know, everybody's got some different ideas on it, and of course, it was not too high on the priority list of maintaining the property, and it's in bad shape. The old lath and plaster and the stuff is falling off the ceiling and stuff, and it's still on the list to be repaired and brought updated. However, when you're dealing with the federal government, you know, and as I said, it's not too high on their priority. So anyhow, I just want to let you people know that we're going to be starting this thing, and it's going to be going out, and the VAVS obviously is a 4th degree program to help the veterans. And we, in our little way, are going to do something, but when you go there to these meetings and you see some of these men in a wheelchair who have paid a tremendous price, will never get out of the hospital, but are ambulatory within the hospital, it makes you wonder how much, to those of us who were in the service, makes you wonder how much you contributed to the welfare of the country and the welfare of them. One man we have, and to those of you who have
degree, so we're gonna have to do some work, you know, help get them to these degrees, and I think this is a transition year, so after another year, we'll probably be just fine and not have a problem, but this is gonna be a little bit of a challenging year, so let's all take that extra effort and get our 2nd and 3rd degrees into our candidates so they can join us in April or October. I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time talking on Marshall things here today, because we've had such good question and answers that I wanted to make sure that I kept enough time, but I did want to talk a little bit this time about the commanders of our assemblies. How many commanders are here today? And how many navigators are here today? I'd like to ask a question. How does a commander become a commander? Yes, he's appointed by the navigator. And once the appointment is, how long does it last?
The next navigator.
Or the next minute, if he irritates the navigator, he's gone. I just say that with a little tongue-in-cheek and joke, but it's true. The commanders always serve at the discretion of the navigator, and that isn't guaranteed. And I'm just bringing that up so we know that it's not a given. And a lot of commanders, if I look at all the commanders that I've been around since being marshal, there's one nice thing about them: they're all different. You all operate different. And that's a challenge to me, especially when I get together at a diocesan function or even exemplification,
and there may be honor guard from up to 10 or more different assemblies. And I find out that a lot of the things that they do with, even with a simple carry the sword, they're doing it 10 different ways. And that's a real challenge for me. You've heard me talk plenty about the practices, and I've been to a lot of the areas here, but there's still areas here going into the 4th year of this appointment that I haven't been to yet. I'm not saying that they don't have practices, but they don't get that same consistent theme that is being brought down from Supreme to the Master, the Vice Supreme Master, Master, and down to me, and the Color Corps Manual, okay? And I know at the last day convention, Jerry critiqued me a little bit afterwards that, you know, there were guys carrying swords all different ways. And once again, when you're the commander or you're leading, you don't get to see that. So I do appreciate the critique, but that goes back to my same thing I've always talked about, is that we really need practices. We really need to be consistent. And then when we do get the exemplifications, we're operating under the wishes of the Master. If he says there won't be